Okay. First thing, I have shared the assignment on the Discord channel, and let me open the Discord to show you. Discord channel.
Hello, good evening.
Hey, hi, Sally. Good evening. Let me share my screen. Entire screen. Just share. Okay. Okay. So this is our Discord channel, right? So what I've done is I have created another channel here with the name as assignments, and we will be using this channel to add all our assignments. Okay. So going forward, I will be anytime I have to give an assignment, I will be putting on this channel so that it is easy for everyone to find. What you should do is you should not, if you have a query about this, right, you should ask in the respective channel, not in this channel, right, in the assignment channel, because otherwise it will get cluttered and people will miss out like the assignments part. Okay, so we will just keep it from like it's like a one-way traffic, like where I will be posting all the assignments. If you have a query around this, please use the relevant right channels which you currently have access to. Okay, so this is it, and I have shared the assignment. Please try to complete it by Friday, right? And get your end. And whoever will have doubt, but again, the prerequisite is that you have to attempt it. If you're not attempting it and then you're saying and you're thinking that someone will explain, no, I will not do that. Okay, you have to attempt by yourself first. If you need help from Google, take the help from Google. I don't care, right? Because if you are struggling, then you also need to learn how to Google, right? How to find your answers. And once you get the answer, you need to understand like how it is working. Okay, the core part is to develop the logic, right? You are learning everything about Java, like how what to use, how to use for loop, while loop, right? Everything. But when it comes to I mean providing a solution to a problem, right? There what matters is the logic, right? And the logic, no one can teach you. It can come with the practice part, right? How many questions you attempt, how many patterns do you see, right? Accordingly you will get, and you will not get you will not get better at it by just seeing. Practice is the only part. Okay. Okay, great. I think this is
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Akhil. What you said just before that, I just missed that. For queries part, we should be using which group, and for assignments part, we should be using which group?
what I'm saying is I have created a new channel which is this name
Okay.
assignments, right? And I would
Okay.
be posting all the going forward all the assignments here only. Okay,
Yeah, this will be helpful. Yes.
right? So that like no one misses the part. The second thing which I
Yeah.
mentioned is, let's say you have a query on this, right? You attempted something, you found something solution on the Google, and you try to do it, and you're stuck somewhere, right? If you're stuck somewhere, what you should use is you should use the respective channel. Let's say these questions are about Java, right? So you will ask your questions in Java, right?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, not in the assignment channel. Okay, so
Okay.
you can consider like assignment to be like one way channel where only I will be posting. Okay, all the questions, right? All the
Yeah.
assignments. If you have a query, please use the respective channel.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so this is first information, and I think any questions which people have with respect to the previous session. No, I hope you everyone is attempting like what they are learning, right, every day. You do not have to sit on it, please. Right, please make sure, because Java, again, we have so much to cover, right? And I have a planned schedule like what I'm going to cover every day. So so that's why I'm saying in the now I've started pushing that information on the starting of the day also, right? So please buckle up and start doing the practice part. Okay, so I have shared one assignment and I hope to share another assignment by Friday or Saturday, once I think that we have covered few more areas in Java. Okay, I think this is enough. Again, I'm asking any queries anyone has with respect to the previous session. If no, then we will start with today's. Okay, no queries. Okay, fine. Let's start. Tutorial. Okay, so today we're going to we are, today is 2nd of April. Okay, yesterday was the Fool's Day. Today is not. So today is 2nd April, and today we're going to cover about four topics which I mentioned. One is the very important one, which is the access modifier. We will first understand how this works, right? What are the rules around it? What are the different types of access modifiers? Until now, we have been only covering public. What are the others? We will first delve into it. Okay. After this, we are going to start looking into the variables part. When I say variables, there are two types of variables, or let's say three or four types of variables. One is a local variable, one is a static variable. Sorry, not static. Instance variable. Instance variable. Another is again, let's say static. Also, yes, static is another variable there. Okay. We will not cover static today. Okay. We will cover static tomorrow, not today. So we're going to cover local and instance variables, and then I'm going to talk about default values which variables attain. Okay, default values. Okay, I think let's start. Let's start with access modifiers. So, how many access modifiers do we have, or how many we have already used? Sudhakar, can you tell me like how many access modifiers at least we have used in our class till now?
Mostly with public.
Public, right? Mostly public, right? And do you know like why? What is the first of all? Do you know what is an access modifier?
Uh, Access modifier is like a permission to access in other classes or within the classes.
Permission to.
Give access to use the methods or class in outside the class or outside the class.
Okay, okay, got it. So it is like you're saying it is like a permission, right? Which should be given. Okay. The right word is the visibility part. Okay.
Yeah.
It defines the visibility of your whether it's a method, whether it's a whether it's a class, whether it's a variable, whether it's a constructor, right? So it provides. So what it is saying, as the name says, it is giving you the access, right? Right? It is giving you the access, like the accessibility, right? But what it means is like the visibility of that component in your entire program. If you have a folder structure like this, let's say source, we have main, right? Main, and then within main you created Java, let's say, and within Java you have created three packages. Let's say package one, package two, and let's say, and within this package we have C1 class, and here we have C2 class. Let's say we have C2 class here, C3 class here, and there is one class which is outside, I mean which is not inside any of the package. So let's say C4. Okay. So now what I'm saying is, what does this public, if you mark anything with public, right, what it happens is that particular thing becomes accessible across your program. Okay,
What is
across your
package?
program. Package we covered, right? Or no? Or we didn't
No,
cover package?
we haven't done
Okay,
package.
we didn't
No.
cover it. Ah, okay. Actually, I teach a couple of areas now, so okay, maybe I missed. Okay, I'll cover about the package. Okay, let's cover package first. I think it is relevant. So let's cover package first. Let me create the program. Okay, my bad. Just a second. Mm, what do we have? Get status. Okay, let me add this. Wait, minus m changes 8. Okay, and let's just push it. Git push origin. What was the name? Java day 8 only, right? Day 8, yes. Day 8. Actually, I'm also conducting one session for test tribe, so I get confused. Like, I got confused what I covered where. Okay, no worries. Uh, Java 8, yes. Git checkout minus p. I'm creating a new branch for today, day 9. Okay. So now this is the day 9 branch, and let us clean up everything here. Uh, delete, delete. So this is like an empty thing, right? The folder structure we get after we just. And now what we've been doing is we go to this Java directory and then we just right click on it, and we can create a class like this, right? So we create a class, let's say demo, right? Demo, and we do it. Now what we can do is we can keep doing this, right? We can keep on adding files like this, but all these files, right, are residing under Java, right, under Java folder. And just to tell you, right, this is a folder only, right? Let me show you this. It is, if you go to the depth of it, these are all the folders. Source is a folder, main is a folder, Java is also a folder, right? Inside that folder, you whatever file you create, that gets decided. You can see the path: Java demo, source, main, Java, this, right? Now, what happens is, like, when you're working in a on a program, right, or on a project, what you will find is you will find that there are certain files which are related, okay, which are doing similar things, right? Let's say in case of, I'll give you the best example. I think that would make a lot of things easier for you. So if you are working on a web automation framework, right, you will try to create some utilities, okay. Let's say a utility is to read data from Excel. Let's say another utility to to read from a config file, or a utility to, let's say, to have a logging framework, right? Let's say, right? So these are three different utilities, but everything is like an additional feature which you are giving to your project. So what at least I would do in my cases, I would try to keep those files together, okay, like in a folder somewhere, so that I can just open up that folder, and what I will find is only those three files, because those are helping me, and those are all belonging to utilities, right? They're adding a utility. Similarly, if you are using a page object model pattern, right, and your application has hundreds of pages, what you will do with that pattern, you will create classes per page, right? Classes per page. That is the pattern, okay. If anyone doesn't know about it, we will cover that part. But try to understand, for every web page you will be creating a new class, right? But again, now think about it, right? You're creating a project, and you may end up creating, let's say, hundreds of different classes, hundreds of different files. And now when you open up your project, you will see all files getting listed there, right? Like in a single pane. Now, how good it would be if there is a way that I can group those similar files together, right? Like in a folder. That is the purpose of having a folder, right? So package also helps in that way, right? You can create packages, okay, and try to keep the related files which can be kept in that package, okay. Okay, let's see how does a package look like. Currently, you can see, right, main. If you go inside main, Java is a folder, and inside Java you find this demo, right? Let me create a package. So package, to how to create a package, click on Java, go here, and you see a package. If you click on it, right, let me give it a name. Again, when people talk about what names do we give, right? Generally, right, what people do is they start with their company name, right? Again, this is when I'm saying about when you work in a company or somewhere, right? So let's say my company is in.podtest, right? So I generally create a package like this. So this is like, see here, okay, let me not do it directly this way. Let's say in, right? I'm typing in here. If you want to, let's say, create a hierarchy, you want to do, see what we are doing here is, we are under source, we have a main folder, under main we have a Java, and under Java it will create this folder. In, let me create this. You see, I've this has created this, and you can see the icon. The icon means that it's a package, because that is what we did. But originally, if you go into the depth part of it, you will find, why we have to open folders, yeah, here, right? You can see it created a folder with the name in, okay. Now what I will do is, see this, I will go inside this, and I will create another package inside in. And you can see, as I was trying to create it, it added a dot sign after it, in dot, right? So dot over here will help you to create a nested package inside another package, right? So this is in dot, let's say pod test. I will give my brand name, right? Pod test. Now inside the pod test, right? So let's first create this. Okay, so I created in dot pod test, and if you would see, you can see the hierarchy here also, right? It's Java, then in dot pod test. And if you go inside this, you will find this way, right? Java in, and then the pod test, right? And let's say this is my, this is my brand name, right? Now inside the brand name, I wanted to create I wanted to distinguish files with, let's say, all the pom files together. So what I'll do is, I will write in dot podtest dot pom again, right? So I'll do this, and whatever classes I want to create here, create in, related to pom, right? I will keep all those files inside this. So what I have to do is, I will right click on it, I will click on Java, and let's say I will write here login pom. Okay, let's say I write this, and you can see inside the pom a file got created, login pom. And let's say I have 100 different pages, so I will create the classes for all those pages and put it inside this form. So what we are doing is we are creating packages here, right? And packages are like folders, which helps you to group things together. Okay. Now, what is the other aspect of packages, right? Which we will understand when we will be understanding that access modifier part. But what is package? Package helps you to group your things, related things together. Okay. As of now, just understand that part.
Means for this particular program, you mean to say it is helping us to collate those things together.
Right. Right. Call it related things together.
Okay. But in wider scenario, how to understand this package concept?
There is nothing wider about this, right? What you have to understand is that packages, what is the use of package? Package is used for this purpose only, right? You create packages just to group things together, right? So that you can see in a single place all your related files together. That is the purpose of it,
Okay, so this
right?
login and what is this form stands for?
Okay, POM stands for page object model.
Okay, okay.
That is a
And
pattern
why
which will
okay, why we are using this particular folder of or this type called form right now? Because we have
no,
been
no, I'm just giving an example. That's it. I'm just giving an example. It's not that you have to create a POM only. Okay. Let me just do one more thing. Okay, so this is like I created inside in we have pot test, then POM, then this, right? And see this. If you open this file, right? If you open a that file which is kept inside a package, you can see on the top of the line it shows your package name. So where is login POM sitting? It is sitting inside in.pottest.pom. Okay, and this got automatically added when you place that file inside this. At least from the ID part. Otherwise, this is how you will have to add this. Right, Shelly?
okay, but what is that form thing? Why it is given there? Public object model, right?
Page object model, right?
Page object.
POM.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay. See, I'm saying take it as an example. It's not that it is always to be there, right? POM. What I'm saying is that I will be adding more classes here inside the POM, like let's say this logout POM, right? Page object model is a pattern which we'll be using when we'll be designing our web automation framework.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just giving an example. Like let's say I will create multiple files which are of related of that concept. So I'll be keeping all those files under my POM package. So just I can just expand this and see all the files. And if not needed, I can just keep it this way, right? You can see right how clean it is for me and others to understand. Okay, this file will be are all related to POM. Similarly, what I can do is, as I'm saying, I can create another package inside pod test and I can name it as util. Now what will util be doing? Util will be keeping all my utilities which I need for my framework. Let's say I will be adding here Excel util, let's say, right? So I'll create a class like this. Let's say I need another util for config util just to work on the configuration file. So I will add a util for it, right? Just for example, I'm saying, right? So you can see, right? These are two folders, but from the name itself, it is getting clear, like what kind of files it will be having, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are good on this part, right? And what I should do is, okay, let it be this way, right? So now understand here, right? What I told you is once you first of all, this is how you add the package, and inside the and in when you place a class inside a specific package, what will you will find is that the package name, right, wherever that class is residing in, the first line of your class of your file, right, would be mentioning your package name, right? So login form is sitting inside which package? It is sitting in.pottest.pom. So this is what it is shown. Check out config util. What will be shown for config util, Sally? If I open config util, what would be the path shown for config util?
Mhm. Same thing, pot test, then from
Hmm.
in starting from in slash pot test slash form.
Why pom? It is not
Because it,
inside pom.
oh, sorry, slash util slash config util.
Okay, not slash dot.
Okay, dot, yeah.
Let's see here. In.pottest.util, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. What about this file? This demo is not sitting inside any package. If I open this demo, what I will see? in the demo part?
The code,
What would I see?
the code which you are, which you
Okay,
are
but
writing.
will I see any package there?
No.
No, right?
Right.
Right? No package, because it is not a part of any package.
Yeah.
Right? Now you have to understand here, right? Either your file can be inside a package or not inside a package. These are the only two possibilities for your. So demo we have kept, which is outside any package, right? So this is not sitting inside any package, but the other files are being kept inside some or the other packages, right? We understand this part, right? Azhar,
Yeah.
we understanding this, right?
Yes, sir, it's clear. Yeah, understanding. Packages and all, it's just folder structure, right? Where we can
Right.
keep our different things. Yeah, understood.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. Now what I was trying to cover. Okay, let's move to the next. Okay, here only, right? Now what will happen in this case is this package one and package two, right? I mean, we understand that these are packages, right? And this class here, right, which is outside, which is not sitting inside the package, right? Now what will happen is what we said into these files is that this file is sitting in a default package. Okay, so this file is sitting inside a default package. I mean, should I say default or no package? I mean, okay, let's use it is no, it is sitting inside no package, right? Let's understand that way. But why I was trying to map it to a default, I'll come to that part. Okay, so again, I think we are clear with the package part now, right? Now I think we are good to move to the access modifiers. So let's resume our discussion again. So what I was saying is, first of all, let's now understand what are the different access modifiers we have. Now access modifiers are created, access modifiers are used so that you can define the visibility of your class, your method, your variables, your variables, your variables, and your, let's say, constructor, right? So you can provide access modifiers to all these levels, right? Now, what are access modifiers, right? What are the different types of access modifiers? The one of the access modifiers which we have been using till now is public, right? Another is private. Third one is protected, and the fourth one is default. Okay. Now let's try to understand first from the rule book, right? Like you can apply which access modifier to whom. Okay. And when I say variables, let me write here. This is instance variables. Okay, we have not talked about instance and local. Okay, let me first talk about this also. Okay. See this. I'm first discussing about this instance variable, like what is the instance variable and what is the local variable. Okay, and then in the end I will talk about default values. So see here, this is your class, right? Let's say this is the class here, right? What I have to do is let me create one method, public void m1. Okay, so this is one method here. Now what I'll do is and inside the class you can create methods, and what you can do is you can also create variables, right? Everyone, this is right? You can create variables. How do you create variables? You can create variables like this: int a, right? You could create string s. You could create the, let's say, the instance of the class also there, right? How you do it? How do you create an instance of a class? Let me create an instance of login form. So I will say login here, login equals to new login form, right? I can do this. Let me just import the classes here, right? Again, I'll talk about this import part, right? When it is required to import. Okay, we'll talk about this now here, right? So these are all variables, right? And that's why it is not complaining. Otherwise, your logic resides where? Inside the methods only. Now you can see, right? There are certain variables. These are all the variables which are created inside the class, but outside the method. Outside the method. Okay. So remember this part. So these are those variables which are outside any method. But you can also create variables inside a method also. Let me create those. So I'll create a method, let's say int b. Again, you could do all of this inside the method also. See here, it will not complain, right? So Java allows you to create variables outside the method and inside the method also. So what you will do is, let me just give it a different name, s1 and login1, right? Now, what are instance variables? What are local variables here? Any variable which you create inside a method, that would be termed as local variable. Okay, any variable which we create inside a method is called local variable. So which are the local variables here? Let me ask Sudhakar, which are the local variables here?
Into B and string S1.
And there is one more,
It is an object reference login.
but that is a variable there, right?
N1.
Login
The
one, right?
reference variable. That is the reference
Yeah,
variable.
reference variable, but it's a variable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, overall, it's a variable only, right? We
Yes,
term
yes,
it as
yeah.
reference variable in terms of when you're creating an object, but it's a variable there, right?
Yes.
And this is a value for it, correct?
Yeah.
So how many local variables we have? 3: b, s1, and login1. Now, what about the instance variables? What are instance variables? Any variable which you declare inside the class directly, right, and that too outside the methods, right, are called as instance variables. Why do we call it instance variable? We'll understand it, maybe not today, some other day. But these are called instance variables. So these all three here, right, are outside the methods, right? Is outside any of the methods, right? And these are directly placed inside the class. These are can you tell
Voice
me?
is not audible. Your voice is breaking up.
My voice is breaking.
Yeah.
Okay, is it the same for everyone?
Yes, Akhil.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
It's lagging something.
Network will never improve. Okay, just a second. Just a second, huh? Okay. Is it better now?
Yes. Better.
Okay, great. So my question was, so okay, what I was saying is any variable which you create directly inside the class and outside of any method, these are called as instance variables. So these are all three instance variables here, right? A is an instance variable, S is an instance variable, login is an instance variable. And what are local variables? B, S1, and login1 are local variables because these are created inside a method. Everyone is now, I mean, this is clear to everyone, right? What are instance variable and what are local variables, right? Why we are learning this? I'll tell you. There's a difference, right? We will find a difference. Like, what is the difference between the two? But I mean, the difference should, at least this definition should be clear. What is called, which are instance and which are local variable. Okay. Okay. I think this is fine. So let's move ahead. Okay. So we understood what is instance variable and what is local variable, right? Now let's come to the rule, right? We can use which access modifier to which component. Okay, now let's take the very easiest case. So every method you have, right, it can be a public method. You can mark it as public, you can mark it as private, you can mark it as protected. What is default, right? If you are not marking anything, I mean, in the as a access modifier, right, it would be treated as default. Okay, what I'm saying is, understand this. Currently I have marked this as public, right? If I remove this public, right, I can mark it as private like this. Okay, I can mark it as private. Similarly, I can mark it as protected, right? But if I am not specifying any access modifier before the name, right, like this, if I leave it as this, right, this would be considered as default access modifier. Okay, so if you don't specify any access modifier, it would be treated as default. And for default, you don't have to write default here. Okay, you don't have to do this. It is not this default is a different thing. Extension methods can only be used with an interface, right? So again, default There is a keyword in Java with the name as default, but that is used in the case of interfaces, right? But as a concept in Java, right, when we're talking about access modifier, there are 4 access modifiers: public, private, protected, and default. If you don't specify these 3, right, the last one which you get is default. So in this case, this would be default. Okay. So for default, you don't have to specify anything. Yellow account mentioned in this. Okay. Okay, everyone. So for default, you don't have to specify. Let me write here. We don't have to, don't specify. Right? For the other 3, if you want them, you have to specifically specify. So what is default? So again, your method can also be default, right? You don't specify anything and your method become a default method, right? A method with the default access modifier, right? Now let's talk about constructors. Yes, your constructors can also be a private, public, private, protected, and default. Okay. What is the difference between the all these, right? We'll talk about, but I'm just trying to list down here, like, to which out of on these individual components, right, what access modifiers you can apply. So we are good with method, we understood method, so everything can be applied. Similarly, for the constructors, any of these access modifier can be applied. What about instance variables? What are instance variables? Which are directly placed inside the class, right, and outside of any method. So what you can apply here? You can apply public, you can apply private, you can apply protected, and you can apply default. So for instance variables, you can apply all the 4 access modifiers. What about local variables? For local variables, you cannot apply anything. So you cannot apply public, you cannot apply private, you cannot apply protected. Default, you can consider it as a default because if you don't specify anything, right, it is considered as default. So I'm not sure should I write cross or write, but again you can understand. We will understand this better, right? When I will explain you all the 4, right? But as of now, just consider that nothing can be applied here. Or let's not say this. Let's say that default can be applied on the local variable. Okay. Okay. I think I'm not saying the right thing. Let me think. Default. I don't think so. So let's put the cross. Let's say local variables cannot have any of these. Okay. If there is a correction on it, I will improve. But most probably this is the case. So nothing can be applied on the local variables. These 3, I'm pretty sure. Default, I think it also does not mean anything for local variable. So we have understood. So you can apply all 4 on method, instance variable, and constructors. And for local variables, you cannot apply anything. Very simple and straightforward, right? So method, local instance, and instance variable and constructor, everything can be applied. For local variables, nothing can be applied. What about classes? Classes, what access modifier we have been using for classes till now? Atif,
Yes.
what access modifier we have been using usually, right, on the classes?
Public.
Public, right? Okay. Can a class be marked as private or protected?
I don't think so,
Private
because if it is marked as a private, we cannot access it, right? Like we cannot create object of that particular class.
Okay. Sudhakar, you were saying something?
Yeah, we can use private for class. So if we declare class as private, we cannot inherit that class.
Okay. And what about protected?
For protected, we can use like this.
We can use this protected also with the class, right? Okay. Okay. See, the rule is for the classes, right? You can apply public, and if you don't apply anything, what gets applied? Default. So default can also be applied. Private and protected cannot be used with classes. Okay. If you remember this table, right, you will never have to face any other issue, right, with respect to the access modifiers. Okay. Again, you will say, Akhil, why this will not be applied? These are the rules of Java, right? You cannot apply private and protected. Okay, I will show you all this, right? But this table should be very handy for you. You can understand, like, where you can apply what? Majorly, you can apply all the four in all the cases, right? Method, instance variables, constructors, right? Local variables, it does not take anything. And for classes, it is only public and default, not the private and protected. Okay. Now, what are these access modifiers? What are they doing, right? Let's start with the class part first. Let me just show this, right? Let me just let's first cover this table only. Okay, I'll come to the part of explaining this, what these four are doing, like how. See, again, I told you, right? Access modifiers helps you to decide the visibility of your component in across your program. Okay, you have 100 classes, lot of packages. Some files are inside the packages, some are outside that package, right? Some are placed in no package, right? So it's a different combination of that permutation combination which your folder structure can be, right? So what happens is, if you have placed a file inside a particular package, package one, and you mark that as public, right? A class as public. So public gives you the maximum visibility. So it means that anywhere across your program, this can be accessed. We will see all of this. First, let's just cover this part. Let me very quickly open this. And currently, let's talk about the class part, right? I told you you can mark your class as public, so we can see this, right? This is marked as public. If I remove this and try to mark it as private, see this, it starts complaining. You cannot mark your class as private. Modifier private not allowed here. Okay, you cannot mark your class as private. Protected. You cannot mark your class as protected. Okay. Now, what about default? How can you apply default access modifier? By not typing anything, just leave it as this. So your class can be marked as default by just not typing anything. So we understood the rules about class. Now let's talk about this. Currently int a, I have not specified any access modifier. So this is what access modifier? Default, right? And this is instance variable here. Let me mark it as public. Yes, I can mark it as public, no error. Similarly, I can mark it as private, right? No error. Protected, again, no error, right? And if I mark it as default, again, default was already which we seen, right? Similarly, this also, right? You can mark it as public, right? You can mark it as private. You can mark it as protected. And you can mark it as default, like the way it was, without mentioning anything. Now, similarly for the method, you can mark it as public, right? Private, protected, and if you does not mention anything, it's default. Now let's check at this local variable. These are local variables, right? These are sitting inside a method. So anyhow, this is default, right? This is default, but consider like these are default as of now, right? Now let me put it here public. Let's see. See, it starts complaining. It says, why are you marking my local variable as public? See, as I told you, right? Public gives you the maximum visibility, which is across your entire program. So this is your entire program. So you are creating this thing inside what? Inside demo Java, right? But let's say you want to access the variables or the methods of demo inside login form. So what you should do is you should mark your class or whatever component you want to access as public or private or protected, right? And depending on the rules, it will be taken up. Now, why you can't mention these access modifiers to these local variables? You have to understand the life of these variables only exist inside this method, and when they will come into existence, they will only come into existence when someone will invoke this method, right? And as soon as this is invoked and this runs, the scope gets complete, right? And then again, it does not exist for the outside world. These are meant to be created only for this M1 method, right? That is why they are called as local, right? These are local to it, and they will only help the M1 method. Okay, so no one outside this M1 needs those variables. Okay, and that is why Java is not allowing you to provide the access modifiers to them. if you start marking them as public, you will then think, okay, I have marked this variable as public. Why can't I access this int b outside this method? Let's say here in the program only, right? If I try to access it somewhere, let's say outside this method, b equals to 10, can I do it? You cannot do it. Why? Because the scope of b is limited to this method only, right? For outside this method, right, this b never existed. Okay, that is why it is called local. I hope this is getting clear, right? On this part, why do you not have to create anything as public, private, protected in the local variable part? Because the intention is never to access them outside their methods. Okay. Okay, great. So what we did was this part. Constructors we have not discussed, so I will not explain them as of now. So leave it. But what we have done is we have covered local variables, instance variables. We covered methods also. We covered class also, right? So I think we covered all the examples except this part, which we will cover in the classes when we have. Now let's talk about these rules here, right? What rules does they gets applied when we talk about access modifiers? When you talk about public, remember public gives you the maximum visibility. When I say maximum visibility, it means you create a file inside a package or inside a package somewhere, right? And then you think, okay, I have kept it somewhere in a very isolated place. But if you mark that class, anything inside it as public, right, it would be starting getting, you can access that thing anywhere inside your program. It does not matter where you kept it. Okay, so that's why it is saying it gives you the maximum visibility. You can access it anywhere. Access anywhere. Okay, this is how the public is. As the name says public, right? It is open for the public world, right? Now private gives you the least visibility. If you mark, see, class you cannot mark private. What you can mark private? Methods. Okay. Okay, what I'm saying is least visibility. Man, I keep getting this and I get annoyed. Okay, I was saying, yes, regarding the private access modifiers. So this is something which provides the least visibility, right? Your class cannot be marked as private. What you can mark private? You can mark your method as private. Method, your instance variable, right? And let's say constructor. Again, leave out constructor. Now understand this, right? If you have marked these two as private, right? So how will you do it? Let's say your class is public. Let's say public class C1, and you have marked your, let's say, first of all, let's do for instance variable. I will mark my private int num. Okay, I got private int num, and what I'll do is I will say private int variable. I'm trying to create a variable private int, and let's say m1. Okay, how do you create the instance of a class? Let's say I have another class, public class demo. Okay, public class, public class demo, and inside this class, let's say I have a method again. Let's say this is a magic method, main method, right? This is my magic method, and inside this method, I'm trying to create the instance of the class. I can do it because it is marked as public, right? Everyone, I can create the instance of the class. So I can simply do C1. Let's say C1 equals to new C1, right? If I try to use C1 to access these two, right, num and m1, right, what will happen is if I try to do this like num here or C1 dot m1 here, right, you know what will happen? It will say you cannot access it. Why? Because private variables or private methods are meant to be accessible inside their own classes, nowhere else. You can only access these two inside the scope of C1. What is the scope of C1? These boundaries. This is its boundary. This is the world of private for them, right? This is the only world which they think exists, right? So outside this world, they do not exist. So you cannot access them. So that's why I'm saying it is giving you the least visibility. You cannot access a private variable or a method outside that class. Whereas if I would have marked this as public, right, I can access it anywhere inside this class, inside, outside, outside of this class, or somewhere else, wherever I want. Okay. So public gives you maximum visibility, private is giving you least visibility. With respect to the protected and default, we'll talk about it. But let's first give me a demo of this. So what I'll do is, let me close this. I mean, let me delete all of this. I don't want to. Um, okay, let's start fresh. So I have currently in.podtest here. Okay, and let's just create the class one. So I will first create a class, let's say animal. Okay, so I create a class animal here, and I have marked it as public. So let's talk about this public and default thing, right? At the class level, if you have marked a class as public, right? See here, public class, and let me create a method. I will keep everything as public, right? Let's say public void m1. Okay, let me give some specific names. Eat, okay, and I will print here animal is eating. Okay, so this is public method, and we are good. Similarly, what I'll do is I'll create a public variable also, public, uh, public, and public name. Let's say public string name. Okay, and let me also initialize this. Let's say animal only, animal. Okay, let's say this. And let me do one more thing. Let me create different types of access modifiers. Let's say private also. So I will mark another variable as private. Let me, I don't want to reveal the age of my animal to anyone. So I will keep the age as private. Okay, so what I'll do is I will say int age, and let's say I provide the value as 6. Okay, as 6. Now let me also create a private method, private void, again void int string, whatever type you want to return, you can mention that return type here, right? I'm just using void. You can put anything, whatever you want. Accordingly, you will have to return private void get details. Let's say I want to use this. I have marked this as private, and here my intention would have been that I would want to print the name of the animal. Let me write here name plus age. Let's say, okay, let's say this thing. Okay, so this is what I wanted. So see here, I've created a class animal, which is the class itself is marked as public, right? And then inside this class, I have marked something as public and some instance variable as private. One method is public, another method is private. We are not talking about protected and default as of now, so I'm not covering them. Let me create another class, and for that class, I will make that class as, let's say, dog. Okay, let's say dog, or let's say human. Okay, let's say human, and class here, and I will not mark it as public. Okay, so I want to mark it as default, so I've removed the access modifier from here. Let me create private and public variables and methods here. So I'll say public int, again, let's say name. Oh, sorry, why I'm saying int here, string name. So name is human, and I will say private int, again, age as, let's say, 45, and then again the same method, right? Let me copy this as this. Public void eat, human is eating. Okay, and I want to print name and age, right? Now see this, what I've done. I have created two classes, animal and human. Okay, let me do one more thing. Let me just create one of the class from where I can invoke this method, these classes. So I will say demo run, kind of a class. Okay, demo run. And here I will do what? I'll just create my magic method, which is public static void main. Now on the main method, I will now see this. So I've created this inside this. Okay, just one more second. Outside this package, right? Let me create one more thing. I'm creating another class with the name is demo run2. Again, I will create a magic method here. So I did this, and I will create another class which would be outside of any package. So let's say demo run3, and I did this, and here also I will add my magic method. Okay, now let's do. Now it would be very good, right? Let's try to understand. Okay, first of all, let's talk about animal class. My animal class is marked as public. So I will ask you guys, you have to answer yes or no. If I try to create the instance of animal class, okay, inside human class, can I do it or not?
Yes, you can,
I can. Why?
because you have given your public access modifier.
Public access modifier, right? So I
Yeah.
can, if I go to the human, let me just try to create it. Let me write here, right? I can create the instance or not. So I will do animal
But
A1.
why don't we do everything in one single program? Means I'm just confused why we have created 4455 windows.
Okay, now think about it. Think about it. Let's say, why did you have let's say in your school, right? Why would you have different notebooks? Why can't you just use a single notebook to put everything inside it? English, Hindi, maths, SST, science, and everything, right? Why? Because you don't want to, clutter it, right, with different information. What you want to keep in a single file is something which is relevant to that file, right?
Yeah.
And imagine, right, we have just started our programming journey, right? If you would start seeing the automation frameworks, right, because that is our part. I'm not even saying seeing into the development projects. Those would be like a nightmare. We'll not understand a line there, right? So here, right, in the automation project also, you will find thousands of, or maybe 10,000 of lines. Imagine keeping everything in a single file. First of all,
Yeah.
it is not good. Second of all, it is not manageable. Third of all, it is not maintainable, reusable, right? A lot of different jargons are there.
Okay.
And you have to understand that why we cannot keep everything in a single file. Okay, you
Yeah.
create a file for a purpose, and you just you have that. I mean, whatever the purpose is, right, you just try to solve that inside that file, nothing else. If you're trying to do something else, you have to create a new file. Okay, you will
Okay.
learn it by practice. Okay, everything will not come in the day one.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, great. So where we were trying to create the instance of the animal class. Now everyone see this. Let me first open this animal in the right split so that it is viewable. Now see this. What we did was, okay. Let me also show you this. So we are trying to create this animal which is a public class, right? And we're trying to create it inside the class human. Now where is this human class sitting? This human class is sitting in the same package as where animal was sitting, right? So animal and human are both sitting in pod test. So first of all, I'm just trying you different scenarios, right? I'm trying to show you that if you have marked your class as public, right, you can access this class from anywhere, whether you are in the same package, whether you are in a different package, or whether you are in a class which was part of and which was not a part of any package. Okay, so we saw it that you can create the instance of this animal class inside human class, which is in the same package, right? Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Now let's see this demo run 2. If we try to create the instance of this animal, right, again let me try to create it inside this demo run 2, right? See here, this demo run 2 class is outside that package, right? Outside that pod test package. If I open this and if I try to create that instance here, see, again, no errors. I can still create it. Why? Because animal class is a public class and I can create it anywhere I want. Okay, again, this is also fine. But demo run 2 was also inside uh, some other packages, right? Not inside Potters, but in some other packages. What about a class which is outside of any package? Demo run 3 is sitting outside of any package. It is not a part of any package. Can we create an instance of animal class here? Yes. Okay. Yes, there is no restrictions around it. Okay. Now the import statement, you have to understand that part also. See here, see this very closely. When you would be required to import a class, see this, this was the animal class, this is sitting in dot pod test. If I go to the human class, right, see, did you see, check whether you are seeing that import statement or not. Let me see this class, human class. Do you see an import statement for animal? No, right? As you were seeing here, let's say, let me open in the right split. You see a import statement in the demo run 2, which is in a separate package. So demo run 2 is not a part of pod test package, but it is outside that package. So the rule is, if you want to access a file which is not inside the same package, but maybe in a different package, or maybe in no package, but it is different, right? In all those cases, you would have to import that class. But if you are in the same package and trying to access a class, right, there is no need to import that package. Okay, there is no need to import that class. So this is viewable as is to that class. Okay, so animal is viewable to human, human is viewable to animal. Why? Because these everything is sitting in the same package. Now you would be understanding the importance of package more, right? I told you one use case that you will have to group similar things together. Second is about this import statement also. If you are keeping things together in a single package, you do not require to import things. Okay, but if you're trying to access something out from somewhere outside that package, right, in all those classes you would require to use the import statement. I hope you're getting the part of import. Okay, where that will be coming, where that will not be coming.
No, actually, I'm confused with this import too.
Okay, what I'm saying is, you see this animal class, tell me this animal class here is a part of which package? In.pod test, you can see the
Yeah,
package name
yeah.
here on the top, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
It's a part of in, and see the hierarchy here also, right?
Yeah,
In.pod test, right?
yes.
What I'm saying is, this pod test package has how many classes? Tell me.
It is having two classes.
3 classes, not 2. Animal,
Yeah,
demo,
sorry.
and human, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I close the pod test, so I still see 2 more classes, right? Is demo run 2 a part of pod test?
Yes,
Why?
it's
Why
coming
demo
under
run
the
2 is a
same
part
thing.
of pod test? It is not sitting inside this package, right? It is outside that package,
Yeah.
right? Similarly, demo run 2 is also is not a part of pod test. It is a part of maybe some other package or maybe no package, right?
Yeah.
But it is not a part of pod test. What I'm saying is, if you try to access the classes which are sitting inside the same package, so what is the same package? Pod test. So
Yes.
if you try to access animal inside human or inside demo run, right, there would
Yeah.
be no need to use import statement.
Correct. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the second point I made is, if you try to access this animal or something, right, from this package, right, and maybe somewhere else, like say demo run 2. Demo run 2 is not a part of pod test. And if you try to access any class which is sitting in pod test inside this, right, demo run 2,
Mhm.
you would be required to use the import statement.
Okay.
Okay, now you're getting it, right?
Yes. Now I got it.
So import statement is required to be used if you are accessing something which is
Outside
sitting
the package.
in some other packages, right?
Yeah.
Not in your current package.
Mhm.
So for your demo run 2, right, what is your current package? Your current package is package in, right? This one, right?
Yeah.
Right? So your animal class is not sitting directly inside the in package. Rather, it's in some other package which is pod test. So you will have to use the import statement, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we covered the import statement also, and this part, right? Now again coming back to the topic. I marked my animal class as public, and I'm trying to access this animal class inside human, right? I told you I can access it, right? I showed you that you can even access it inside a class which is outside that package, and even inside a class which is in no package, right? Like demo run 3. So the key takeaway is, public classes can be accessed anywhere. Okay. Now what about default? let's come to the default part. If I mark my animal class as default, what I have to do is just simply remove this public. As soon as I do this, right, you can see there are two errors now showing up. And you can see my demo run 2 and demo run 3 getting highlighted with the red line. The rule about default is you can access a class which is marked as default, right, inside the package where it is created only. So who can access my animal class now? What are the other classes which can access? Demo run and human. Why? Because these are sitting in the same package where the animal class was sitting. You can see, right? Animal, demo run, and human are all sitting inside pod test. Okay, these are all sitting inside pod test package, right? And demo run 2 and demo run 3 are not a part of pod test package. And I have marked my animal class as default. So with default, you can understand that with default, it's like a package restriction. Whatever package you're a part of, your visibility is confined to that package only. Nowhere outside that package you can access it. Right? So animal class is a part of which package? It's a part of pod test package. And I have marked my animal class as default. So now the visibility of this animal class is just limited to my package, the current package, which is pod test. And outside this package, these classes does not exist. I mean, this class does not exist. Okay, nowhere outside this it is accessible. You can see here demo run 2. If you try to do this, right, you can see here in pod test dot is not public in this, cannot be accessed from outside package. Okay, similarly for demo run 3, see the same rule. It will say is not public, so you cannot access outside the package. Right, everyone? So what we learned about the classes, right? That if your class is marked as public, it means it is accessible everywhere. And we understood about default. If you mark your class as default, it is accessible inside the, so there is like a package restriction. Whatever package you are a part of, only there your visibility lies, right? Outside that package, you do not exist. Okay, so you can understand, you can remember this with the terminology as public is like everywhere, default is just package. Inside the package where you exist. That's it. Okay. Now let's see this public and default thing, right? For the methods. Okay, I was talking about first what private, right? I came to default. Okay, but in a way we understood the class part, right? So class part is done. Let's consider. Okay, let me write here, right? Public is everywhere. Default is for a package. When you say private, right? It gives you the least visibility, and the least visibility means that you can only access that item inside that class only. Now, if you want to confine your visibility to that specific class and nowhere else, then you should mark your method instance variable constructor as private. Okay. And with protected, right, the rule is it works similarly to like default. So it's like package restriction, but it also is accessible to its child. This part will not be clear by today. It will take some classes. But over here, right, just understand that these are the rules, right? For public, so now just remember it with this way. First of all, there are 4 access modifiers: public, private, protected, and default. For public, as the name says, it is publicly available. It is available everywhere. Private, it's like your personal space, and in terms of Java, it is like your own class only, right? So whatever class you are a part of, only there you exist. For the outside world, you do not exist. What is default? Default is like your package restriction. Whatever package you are a part of, only there your visibility is can be seen. Outside that package, you do not exist. What is protected? Protected is your package, whatever the rules of package were, plus some rules for the children of that class. Again, we have not covered about the children of the part. I mean the children part. So let's leave it as of now, right? So we are just focusing on these 3 as of now: public, private, and default. Protected we'll talk about when we discuss about inheritance. Okay, so my focus area is on to cover these 3 parts today. We have already covered public and default for classes. Now let's see public, private, and default for the method, or let's see for the instance variables first. Now let's go to the program again. Let me make my animal class as public again, right? So that all the issues gets resolved. You can see all the issues got resolved. Now animal class is visible everywhere. Here also, here also, here also. Okay, now let me close this. Let me close this. Now see these two classes. Okay, I just want to show you both the behaviors. So, so this class, animal class is public. This human class is default. Okay, okay. Let me close human first. Let us discuss public. This class here. So my class is marked as public, right? But inside the public class, I can have my methods and my instance variables as public and private, right? Now, but the rules remain same. What happens is, if you have marked something as private, right? If you have marked this variable as private and this method as private, for the outside world, they do not exist. Let's try this. So this is animal class. Let me create for demo run. Let me open in Lightspeed. Here, right? In the demo run here, let me create the instance of this class. So I can create it. Why? Because animal is a public class. New animal. Okay, so we did this. Again, we understand why we were able to do it, because it's a public class, or even if it was a default class, this would have worked. Why? Because demo run and animal are sitting in the same package. So public, it is accessible everywhere, and if even if it was marked default, you could still access it because both are part of same package. Now let's try to see what we can access through A1. Okay, so I will do A1 dot. If I do a dot on it, right, you can see all the methods and variables which you can access, right, from this A1. Let's see how what are you see, only it is accessible. What is name? Name is a variable which is marked as public, and eat is a method which is marked as public. But you cannot see age here. There is no age here, and there is no get details here. So the rule is, if you have marked something as private, these things, these variables or the methods, right, are limited to the boundaries of the class where you created them. So outside this class, right, you cannot access them. Where you can access? Inside this class. Let's say this is my public method, right? I will access this method of get details inside this method. Let's do it. How I can do it? I can just call this, right? You can see I'm able to access get details method, which is a private method inside the same class, which is fine. But I cannot do a1 dot get details here. I cannot do this. If I try to do it, it will say get details as private access in this, and you cannot access it through this way. If I need to access this, I need to make it as public, like this. Once I make it public, you can see the error is gone. So how private works? You're limited to the boundary of that class. Outside the class, you cannot access. Okay, whether you are a variable or whether you are a method. Let's try with the variable also. If you do a1 dot age, right, you cannot access. You cannot access. But if I make it as public, see, it starts. I can just now assign the values also, right? And if I make it as public, sorry, private, you can say it will start complaining. Why? It will say, it is not okay. My IntelliJ ID is taking some time, but it will not allow you to. You can see there is an error being marked now. Okay, so we are understanding, right? The boundaries of private is limited to your class only, and for public it is accessible, right? You can access this public thing anywhere in the same package, outside that package, or maybe somewhere which is not a part of package. Okay, so we are good with the public part also. So we are done with this public. We saw this how it works. We saw this part. We saw how public method works. We saw how private method works. We saw about instance variables also, and this also. We have also seen that we cannot mark these three as right in the local variables. What is pending is the default part, default method and default variables. Constructors, anyhow, we don't have to discuss as of now. Okay, so what is pending is this, and protected again we will discuss when we discuss about inheritance. So these two are the only things which I have to show you now. Now see this. Okay, I did not show you for the default class, right? Okay, just a second on this part. Let me just first remove this. Okay, now we had another class which is human class, but that class was marked as default. Now the class is marked as default, and the variables inside this, right, are variables and the methods are marked as public and private. Now, can someone tell me, if my class is marked as default, first of all, what is the visibility of this class? Where I can access this class? Sangeeta, if you're there. Is Sangeeta there? I thought Sangeeta joined.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, Sangeeta. If you can tell me, if you can tell me like how to, where I can access this human class.
Um,
Since it is marked as default,
yeah,
I can
I
access
think you
it?
can access anywhere, even outside the package.
No, see, the rule of default is that the thing, that particular thing. See, with default, you can understand it's like a package restriction. So, if you have marked your class as default, right, you can only access it inside that package only. So, what is a part? So, human is a part of which package? Pod test, right? So, where you
Yeah.
can access human and all its element inside the same package. So, animal and demo run can access it, but demo run 2 and demo run 3 will not be able to access that class there, right?
Okay.
As per the rules. Okay. Okay. Maybe you can rewatch the video and you will understand. Okay. 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 Let me ask someone else. Let me ask Kusuma.
Yes, Akhil.
So, can you tell me, like, human class can be accessed from where?
Within the same package. So you can access it in animal demo run, but you can't able to access in demo run 2 and demo run 3 because those are outside of the package pod test, which human is present in.
Okay. Great. Great. Now think about this, right? Since first of all we check the accessibility of our class, right, where our class is accessible, right? So based on that information we have anyhow restricted, right, we have anyhow reduced our scope of work, right? Now if I mark something as public inside this class, so I have marked this string name as public, right? So where this public variable can be accessible?
Within the same package.
Same package, right? So first of all, the boundaries of the classes are getting confined. It first decided, okay, this class is accessible where? So this class is accessible only inside podcast, right?
Yeah.
Right. And even if you mark public here, right, for a variable, generally if you mark something as public, it is accessible everywhere, right? In any of these classes, demo run 2, demo run 3. But in this particular case, this name variable will not be accessible in demo run 2 and demo run 3. Why? Because your class itself is marked as default. So that has reduced the visibility of the entire class, right? Which these variables and methods are part of. Let's see this. Okay. If I try, I am in under demo run, right? I am inside a part of demo run. Let me create the instance of the class first. Human, h1, new, human. This part, right? And if I say h1 dot name, I can access it, right? Why it is complaining? Okay, why it is complaining? What happened to my IntelliJ? Just a second. Let me save this. Let me close it. Let me open it again. Let's try this. It's human, right? H1 human. Why it keeps saying evaluating, evaluating? Just a second. Let me just. My data is about to expire. Did you have a bunch of clusters? Is it better now? Yeah, I think it is. No, just a second. Let me close my. Oh, it was still running something. Okay. Now let's try h1 dot. Let's see, right? So h1 is human, right? Let me just open in the right split now. Human here, right? And let's try to see if we can access name. So if I access name, can I access it or not? Okay, I cannot write it here because it's not a statement. Let me print it inside stout and I will say h1 dot name. You see, I'm able to access it. My class is default and my variable is marked as public. So because of the boundaries of the default, this human class is accessible inside these classes, animal, demo, and human, because these are part of the same package. Now, so outside, so first of all, demo run 2 and demo run 3 are already ruled out. You cannot access, okay, the human class. But again, so that is what we are checking. So we checked that you can access this human class inside its demo run, right? Let's check in demo run 2 now. Can I create the instance of human class? You cannot even create the instance of the human class here. So how will you access something inside this, right? If I try h1 dot what, you cannot even access anything here, right? You cannot type because your Java will restrict you at the point of creating the instance of the class itself. So how will you access the variables and methods of that class? So that's why I'm saying, first of all, you will have to see what is the visibility of my class. If the visibility is public, then you will have to think about a lot of other things. But if it is default, then your scope of visibility is limited to your packages only, right? So again, this will not be visible here, and again, this will not be visible in your demo run 3 also. You can see, right? It is not visible here also. So let's just restrict ourselves to our discussion of demo run, right? So what we saw is, so this human class is visible inside demo run. So that's why you were able to create the instance of it. Now we are trying to see our public variable. Now public is accessible inside this scope, right? So we are able to type here h1.name. Let's try. Can we access h1.age, which is marked as private? No. Why? Because here now something you've marked as private. Now as soon as you mark private, what happens is the visibility is restricted to that class only. So this is a different class, so you cannot access age, right? Similarly for the method, eat method, right? Let's try to access eat method. You can access eat method. It's a public, right? Why it keeps, okay, my bad. Just a second. Name here, h1.eat. You can see, right? h1.ease is there. You can access it. But if you try to access h1.get details, you can see, right? You cannot even type this because you are not able to access it. Why? Because it's a private. Since you have marked this as private, the visibility is limited to the class. Okay, and overall visibility of the class depends on this access modifier. Since this is default, the visibility is limited to the package only. Okay, I think this is pretty clear now. So let's just save this and go back to our drawing board. Okay, so we understood if your variables, right? Okay, we talked about what? We talked about private and we talked about public, right? For the methods and the instance variables. Let's just talk about the default part, which is the only part pending. So what I'll do now is, let's first do it for the animal class. Let me open the animal class. Here I will add a variable which would be of default nature. So let me say int weight. Okay, so I am, let's say, saying this 10. So I have not specified any access modifier. It's a default access modifier. Now if I create a method as a void get weight, right? And let's just print here. My weight is okay. That's it. So again, it's a default method since I have not specified anything. Now my class is public, right? So with that, first thing should be very clear. Who all can access my class? Anyone inside the program can access my class, right? This is very clear. Now let's see inside this class. I mean, from this class, who can access what? Again, public variables and methods can be accessed because these are marked as public. Private variables and the methods, right, can be accessed only inside this class. Okay. Now coming to this variable which is default and the method which is default, where can you access it? Let's try it in demo run first. It is in the same package, and default means the package restriction. So if I try to access this weight here, so let me write here a1 dot weight, right? And for this I have to type here s out, right? I can access it because why? Because this is marked as default, and default means package restriction, and both the classes demo run and animal are sitting in the same package, which is pot test, right? If we move ahead and try to access the method now, method get weight, can we access it? A1 dot get weight, you can see I can access it, right? No problem. So inside the package, there is no problem with the default method or the variable. Let's try it in demo run 2. What can you access those default methods here? So this is animal a1. What I'll do is I'll try to access first. Okay, let me first write s out. Let's try to access the default variable, which is weight here, right? If I type weight, you can see it is complaining. Why? Because weight was marked as default, and this is a part of this class animal, which is a part of pot test package. And you are trying to access this inside demo run 2, which is not a part of that package. So here, anything which you had marked as default cannot be accessed, right? That's why it is complaining. If I try to access that method, a1 dot get weight, again it is saying you cannot access. Let's see the message is not public, right? Cannot be accessed. So this cannot be accessed again. So let me mark it here. So I did this. So I think it is getting clear, right? And the last part is, let's cover about the human class also. So human is marked as default. Since human itself is marked as default, the scope is get limited to the package only. So demo run 2 and demo run 3 does not even have a chance. So let's not talk about it. But inside this human, what about where can I access the default variables and the methods, which are of the animal class, right? Sorry, of this. Okay, I have not created any default variables. Let me create uh, uh int weight equals to 10, void get weight s out in weight, whatever that is, right? Now I'm trying to access these two methods, I mean the method and the variable, which are of default nature, from human class inside the demo run class, okay, which is in the same package. So let's try to do it. So I will just type here h1 dot weight, and you will find I will be able to access it, okay. And I will have to put it in a statement, okay. And similarly I can access the default method here, get weight, right? And the last part, again, let's just try here demo run 2. I told you our class itself is marked as default, so this class is not even accessible here and here. So there is no point even in checking those cases in those classes there. right? So this is the complete rule, right? This is what I just wanted to show you, that how these access modifiers define the visibility of that item in your entire program. So public gives you the maximum visibility, which is across all the classes, everywhere inside your program. Private gives you the minimum visibility, which is just inside that class, right? So these are very straightforward. These two are very straightforward. Okay, whether your class is public or default, it does not matter. If the variables or right, accordingly, right? What you should understand is, again, if you understand this part, right, what I just explained in the diagram, which is here, right? Public means that it is everywhere, private means it is class, default means it's a package restriction. Okay, so first of all, you should see your visibility of your class first, right? Now once you see that, you will know that, okay, that this is the scope of my class, this is the place where it is accessible, this is the place where it is not accessible. Now wherever that class is accessible, right, in those portions you have to check about the variables and the methods of that class, whether those things are visible or not in somewhere else. Okay, so if you remember this table, and if you understand all of this, I think we are good with the access modifiers there. Okay, on this, the only exercise here is just play with these different access modifiers, nothing else. Just try to understand, try to formulate a same structure which I have done here. Okay, create a package like this, keep a class as public and create another class as default, right? Create all the methods, right? Keep three types of methods: public, private, and default. And similarly for the variables, and try to see like where those are accessible. Okay, and if you do this exercise, you will yourself understand like what is accessible where. Okay, there is no other exercise which I'll be giving for this access modifier part. Protected thing is something which is missing from our discussion, which I will add later on. Okay. Okay, so this is what I wanted to cover today, except the last part, which is the default variables. Okay, let me cover that part also. It's a small thing. We talked about the local and the instance variable, right? I told you what are local variables, something which you create inside the methods. What are instance variables? Those variables which you create directly inside the class but outside the methods, right? Now what is the difference apart from where they are placed? The difference is on the default values. Your local variables, right? Let's say you have created a variable like this, int a, and you have not initialized it. Okay, you have not initialized this. What Java will do is, Java will not provide a default values for your local variables. It will not provide. Whereas if you have created an instance variable, right, and not initialized it, Java will provide a default value to it. What are those default values? For int, byte, short, long, default value is 0. For boolean, default value is false. For char, I don't remember, it would be some character there. For float and double, right, default value is 0.0. And if you try to create any object, right, if you try to create the reference variable of a class without creating an object of it, or if you type this also, right, string s, I told you string is a class, right? It's not a primitive data type, so it is a class. So similarly, your login form was a class, right? And let's say you just did this and you did not initialize, and here also you did not initialize with a value. What will happen in these cases for the instance variables? What Java will do? Java will assign a null value to them. So for all the objects, right, it will assign a null value. Okay, this is what null means. Okay, it will assign it to a null value, right? So these are the default values. If you, for the int byte short long, you will assign 0. For the boolean it will assign false. For character I don't remember that part, but it does assign some values. For float and double it provides 0.0, and for objects it provides null. And where does it provide default values? Only for the instance variables. What are instance variables? Directly created inside the class. Okay. And what are local variables? Created inside the method. Let me just show you one example. So this is, so for them it will not provide, for this it will provide. Let me just quickly show you one demo on this part. Let me just create another package. Mm, default value, let's say. Okay, so I create a package default value and I will create a class value. Okay, default value demo. Okay, now see this. Let me close all this. Let me close the other classes. Close other tabs here. I can create directly a instance here, right? Let me get an instance as int a, and also let me create a method public void m1, right? And let us create one another class. Let's say demo demo default demo main, let's say. And here I will just create a main method, and here I will try to create the instance of the class default value demo d1 equals to new default dot demo, and I will do d1 dot. Okay, now what I can do is, you can see I have, okay, let me mark it as public. Okay, just to give it the maximum visibility, I have let me mark it as public, and here also, and let me get a variable here also. So here inside the method I cannot mark public, private, protected. It is like this only. So I will say, let's say int age. Okay, and here let me also print this value. I will say age is sorry, plus age, right? Now you can see it is itself giving an error. Why it is giving an error? It will say variable age might not have been initialized. So Java will not even allow you to keep it this way. It is saying whether you should initialize it or initialize it. You have to initialize it with some value. This is what Java is saying. So it will not even allow you to compile. You will have to do something like this. 0. You yourself has to provide a default value. You cannot leave it for Java. But in this case, right, you can see it is not complaining. If I use it, right, let me move it. See here, right here. A is A. See, here it is complaining, but for age it is complaining. And in both the cases, I have not initialized with a value. Why is that? Because Java knows it's an instance variable because it is kept outside the method. And if the user is not providing a value, Java will provide a value. And Java, it's a int value, so what value Java will provide? Okay, sorry. I hope you can see my screen. Okay. Now here, right? So what I was saying is A is an instance variable, and if I'm trying to use it as is, right, you can see it is not complaining. But if I'm trying to use a local variable as is, right, it is complaining. And it is saying that this is not initialized. But it is not saying the same thing for this. Why? Because that is a instance variable. And for instance variable, Java will itself provide a value. Now what I have to do to fix this is I will have to provide a value. So let me provide 10. So if I run this now, it is happy. Let's run this. How to run it? I will just call this method m1 from here. d1.m1 and see this. I have not provided a value for that a thing, right? Which is the instance variable. Let's see what do we get printed here. It's not why it is showing here. It is building, okay. Okay, it is building. Why it got slowed down? Okay, yes, you can see, right? It is printing age is 0, sorry, a is 0 and age is 10. See here again. I have not provided a any value, but it is still taking it as 0. Why? Because Java provided a default value to your instance variables. That is the reason. And for local variables, if you have not if you don't initialize, Java will complain, compiler will complain, it will not allow you to even compile your program. It will stop you there itself. Okay, and you will have to yourself provide a value, or the other alternative was you can accept a value from here, from your method. Right now Java knows why it is complaining, because I have called it here, right, like this. So Java knows, right? Now it does not have to worry about the value initialization, because you're already initializing age with some variable value, and whoever will be invoking this m1, they will have to provide that value. So in a way, Java is very confident that age will achieve some value, right? If not directly, then through this parameter being accepted from that method invocation, because you cannot run the m1 method as is, right? You will have to provide a value now. Let's say 5. Now everything is fine again, right? Let's run it. A is 0, age is 5. And similarly for the other data types, as I explained, those would the value which they will attain. So what we learned a couple of things today. Local variables and instance variables. Local variables are those which inside a method, which are created inside the method. Instance variables are those which are created directly inside a class. Instance variables, if not initialized, will attain some default values which Java provides, which I have listed down. Local variables will not attain the default values. You will have, this is your responsibility, that you have to provide them a value. Okay, coming to the access modifier part, the packages. First of all, package is like your folder structure, right, which helps you to group things, little things together, right? Now coming to your access modifiers, we have 4 access modifiers: public, private, protected, and default. Public gives you the maximum visibility, right? Private gives you the visibility only to a class where you created it, right? Nowhere else. Default gives you the accessibility to your package, to your entire package. Outside that package, you do not exist. Your classes can be marked as public and default. They cannot be marked as private and protected. Apart from it, your methods, your instance variables, and your constructors, right, can be marked any of those 4. And local variables cannot be marked as public, private, and protected. Okay, this is the gist of what we learned today. Right? Please just go back and revise this, okay, and practice it. And please do not keep a backlog. Okay. Can access protected class from parent. Okay, we have not talked about the inheritance, Sangeeta, so I'll not answer it as of now. Okay, we will talk about this when we discuss about inheritance, right? But just focus on these 3 parts: private, protected, and default. Okay, everyone. Okay, I think we are good for today then. Right, everyone? See, again, Java is getting serious now, okay? You will have to buckle up and do a lot of practice, right? Don't just keep watching the videos, please do hands-on. And make sure that you are clearing up the backlog per day and not sitting on it. Tomorrow there is another lineup of work which I have prepared, which is static, non-static, final, and string. Okay, do not sit on today's concept. Go back and practice them. Right, I have prepared a roadmap of Java for the entire month of April, and that is also not sufficient. DSA part will fall over to the May month. Right, even April is not sufficient. We are on 2nd of April, and you may be thinking that we have covered lot of things in Java. No, it is just the starting. We have to cover a lot of things on Java, and I am devoting almost like 1.5 months on, not 1.5 months, almost 2 months on Java. We started, I think, on 18th of March, I believe. Right? We are already spent 15 days on Java, right? And now we have to cover 1.5 months more. So please buckle up and do not sit on a concept. Go back and rewatch the video and practice, right? Utilize your Sundays and Saturdays as robustly as you can. Okay? Leave out everything because everything else can wait. But this Java module, right, for 1 to 2 months, I'm unable to download the Discord assignments. You should be able to. Okay, I will check. Can anyone else check whether they are able to download this, the Discord assignment? I think you should be able to download that.
Yeah, very.
You're able to, right? So, other you can try again. If you face again an issue, let me know. I will check. Okay. Okay. I think enough of preaching. I don't want to just say it again and again.
Okay,
Yeah,
sir, I'm just trying to download it, but it's keep on loading, and I'm seeing an error message like unable to download like that. Whether I'm the only one facing or it's like rest
I
others
think
also facing.
you are the only one, but why is that? I don't know. But what I can do is I can share you separately on your WhatsApp. Okay, don't worry.
Yeah, sure, sir. Yeah, that will be helpful. Thank
Okay,
you so
I'll
much,
do
sir.
it. Okay, I'll do it and see why that is the issue for you. Okay. Okay. Any questions? Anyone else?
Akhil, one thing like in Java, we do have this setters and getters, right? Will you be covering later?
Setters and getters, right? Those are
Yeah.
parts of encapsulation concept which we're going to cover in OOPS. Okay. We have a
Okay.
day for it. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll cover
Sure.
it.
Thanks.
Okay. But again, those are very simple thing, right? As name says, getters and setters. Getters are like you create some get methods, which is public void get. I mean public. Okay, let's leave it. Okay, I'll cover it. Okay, I'll just say that point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why I brought that into this context because that will help us to access private variables outside the class and modify it.
Right. And that
So-
that is what encapsulation is about. So we will cover it in our OOPS concept. Okay.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
But again, see, whatever we have been covering till now, we are trying to lay down the very strong foundation for our Java thing, right? And we are covering all the rules, right? So that there is no conflict, there is no confusion when it comes to real programming part. You do not have to be a very good Java developer to, I mean, your intention is not to create a, you're not trying to build a Java, I mean, what to say, a Java software, right? You're not doing it. The use for your Java is that you want to use it in your automation framework, right? So all the rules, right, which you're learning is good for you so that you can go back and just, if you're reading the code also, right, it can start making sense. Okay, this is accessible here, this is not accessible here. Okay, how this logic would be working. If you know all the rules which we have been discussing per day, you will realize that everything is will start making sense. Okay, so please understand the importance of everything which you are doing here. Okay, I think we're good. I don't want to say anything else. Okay, great. Let's meet tomorrow. Okay, and I will also share the agenda for tomorrow in morning's chat, right, on the group itself. And please start practicing that assignment. It requires a knowledge of for loop, and I think if else block only. But the logic is important. You have to evolve here on the logic side. So please, if you don't know, if you're not able to understand the logic, explore Google, read from Google, spend your Saturday and Sundays on it. Okay, you do not have to submit on Friday, submit it on Sunday. I don't care. Okay, and let's do it. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Let's meet tomorrow. Bye bye. Take care.
Thanks. Akhil. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye, sir. Good night.
Good night. Bye.
Hello, Akhil. I have shared my GitHub account in the Discord server.
Okay, sure, Kusuma. So, have you posted anything to it?
Yeah, I have. I just started with the simple program and then practiced on the conditional statements. F1 for loop.
Okay, great. I will
I
check that.
still
Okay?
haven't, yeah, I still haven't catch up to the Git and GitHub sections, but
Don't
I
do
got
it.
the gist of, yeah,
Right. See, I will again
what is
suggest
this?
you don't go there as of now. You should focus on Java more. Okay.
Yeah,
Git and GitHub again. I think you would be able to very easily grab it. Okay. You don't have to learn everything in Git and GitHub. You should be knowing how to create a branch, how to push your
yeah,
changes and everything. And what I would recommend is just watch our Git crash course, right? which I did on this Saturday or Sunday, right? Just watch that. It's like a 1.5 hour kind of a video. You will get a lot of insights from that also. Okay.
Okay, sure.
So all your doubts about Git and GitHub, at least the basic parts would get cleared out.
Yeah.
Just focus on Java. All the rules, everything on Java, just keep determined for the next 2 months, right? On Java only.
Yeah, okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay, great. I will check this, right? And I've already shared an assignment. Please
Yes.
try to attempt it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye bye. Good night. Bye.